Hey everybody, my name is Russ. That is Lauren, and welcome to our Sunday vinyl video. We do, as many as we can of like reissues and rare finds and that type of stuff. But we also have what I refer to pleasantly as just a pedestrian vinyl collection. And I think there's a ton of videos out there on, reissues and box sets and new pressings and all that stuff. So not a lot of people are always, at least in my experience in the 15 or so years I've been around the vinyl community, I don't see a lot of people just being like, hey, yeah, this is what an original pressing sounds like, or here's what I think of it. That's why we do this, in case you've ever looked and been like, why are they doing a regular old, pressing of that? So today's focus is a album that we did one of our Thursday videos on recently, which one of the series that we have on the channel is the What's So Great About. And I could have done a whole video on What's So Great About George Michael or Wham, or Listen Without Prejudice, or a ton of different older, but I really wanted to zero in on the Faith record, which if you are here a George Michael fan, you haven't seen that video, search the channel for it. If you type in just George Michael into the channel search bar, we have very few videos on just George, so it'll come up easily. But I think this is just an amazing record in the first place, and a lot of the reasons why are detailed in that video. But because of that video, I think this was like a snake eating its own tail thing. I either wanted to get an original pressing of this because of that video, or I got one and then I wanted to do that video because of it. Something.
Chicken egg.
Yeah, one of those things. But this is the one that we got was an original pressing of 1987's masterpiece Faith by George Michael. But what I would call an original pressing. So with some vinyl records back then, the original pressing of stuff had a lot of little differences to it. And probably every version of Faith you've ever seen, and most people have ever seen, like you have the leather jacket and the thing in the George Michael, but in the lower right corner it says Faith. That's like a second string pressing forward. The first pressing has symbols instead of Faith, which is the one we have. And I always put pictures of everything on there. Now, I will say that my whole life, all I've ever had is second string pressings and or CD. And I will tell you that this sounds no different to me. Like fans of Michael Jackson's Bad will swear on a stack of Bibles that the original CD sounds far better than other CD copies. And I'm not here to debate that. Like but even in the vinyl community, a lot of people say the original pressings of Bad sound better than the second string on. For George Michael, I can't hear any difference at all. Because I've blasted this album at ridiculous volumes in the past, including the new one. But as far as packaging goes, besides that difference, records were so widespread up until the really early 90s here in the US, that there were not many albums that I feel like Thriller's like the largest selling record of all time, and it's like a gatefold with just a paper inner sleeve, you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like, outside of the fact that the one that we have has the symbols on the cover, there's nothing really that stands out about this record. I would argue that George Michael's later album covers tell you more about what the music is going to be inside. Like Listen Without Prejudice is just a black and white picture of a crowd, but I feel that tells you more of what's going to happen in this.
Than
what I mean?
what this does. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that like Faith, the cover, for how ambitious the album is sonically, I feel like the cover of the album just is like, yeah, Faith, the song, like with the jeans and the jacket, right? Like, you know what I mean? I wish the album cover was more.
Well, yeah, I know. I totally get wishing that. I think, just knowing this album's place in time and George Michael's career, I feel like I'm sure that there had to be some kind of incentive to playing something a little safe, right? Yeah. Just because what are people supposed to expect? They know Wham.
Right. Yeah. At the time, which again, not to overly promote that other video, but oh Lord, this is such a departure from Wham. The sound on this, I think George Michael Faith is produced so well that it doesn't really matter how you listen to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've probably heard over the course of my life, I've probably heard like 96 kilobit MP3s or something. It still sounds amazing. But I will say, and I don't know why it's this one track, the second half of I Want Your Sex, the soundstage is way wider on the vinyl pressing than it is digital to me. And I, whenever I do comparisons, I use lossless title for when I'm trying to do a comparison. So it's not like I'm using like, I just brought it up on YouTube and who knows what the lineage is. Like I feel like Tidal is a pretty darn good digital source. And for whatever reason, that one track just sounds so much wider on the vinyl than that. So price wise, here's where this is something that irritates me with this. Why hasn't this record been reissued to High Heaven? Like it's never been reissued.
Huh.
Like all you can find are original pressings, right? And Faith is one of those things like you can't find good copies of used Pink Floyd records from the 70s because people that took care of their Pink Floyd records like didn't sell them. And the people that didn't take care of their Pink Floyd records didn't care what happened to them. So that's why you can find those copies, right? And Faith is kind of the same way. It was such a big album that people loved so much that you can't find really good condition used copies of it. So our friends at Rock City Music up in Detroit, Livonia, Michigan, actually, set us up with this copy for about $30, which is this side of a steal. You should pay around 40, I think, for a used copy, but also it should be available for 20 or $25. Like, like when you and I go into like Target, mostly because Jacksonville record stores are nowhere near as good as Rock City Music in Livonia, Michigan. So the majority of records we see are in like Target or Walmart when we're just in there. You see stuff like the Bodyguard soundtrack, the Footloose soundtrack, like not those are the first two that are coming to mind. But you see a lot of like
stuff from that
70s
time.
and 80s record. Rumors is in everywhere. Sure. Why not Faith? Like how is that record not everywhere? So I don't get that. As far as value goes, copies of this could go for $100 and I'd still pay it.
Well, yeah, you got to have faith.
Right. Good one.
I had to do it. I've been waiting this whole time.
that's you're like waiting for your time.
I was like, it's coming.
But that's how I feel. I feel like it's like now we talked a little bit in the What's So Great About This Album video, and I don't want to relitigate that whole video now. But you were newer to the rest of the album.
Yeah.
Outside
the
right.
singles, yeah.
But is it not a monster record? I mean, it's just a monster. I think this should come in the mail. Like I think everybody should get copies of this album.
Yeah.
I think it's just a monumental piece. And so for me, the value to get it for $30 is like if you, in short, on this channel we never want to go, here's how you should spend your money. But if it were me and you see this in the store for under $50 and it's in good shape, I would grab it because if they haven't reissued it by now, and watch. I should say as it's filming of this because watch.
Watch
before
right?
this video comes
Let's manifest
out.
this. Let's will it into existence.
Right. So that's us talking a little bit about a recent pickup of ours, an original pressing of George Michael Faith. Like I said, we do other stuff on the channel with vinyl. Like we have covered box sets, we've covered rare pressings, original pressings, all that type of stuff. So if this is your first time on the channel, we have a vinyl video every Sunday. We have music discussion videos on Thursday, and then ye old clickbait reactions on Saturday, which we have fun with, but that's
they're my favorites to record.
They certainly are. So if you would please give the video a thumbs up, hit the notification bell if you haven't yet, and if you're not already, hit the subscribe button as well. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.